The late afternoon sun spilled through the glass walls of Silver Tiger Dojo, casting long reflections across the polished wooden floor. Students stretched, chatted, and prepared for another intense training session. Everything seemed normal, until the door opened quietly and a young man stepped inside. Jimuel Pacquiao, dressed in simple black joggers and a plain hoodie, entered with a humble bow. Most of the students didn't recognize him. He blended in easily, just another newcomer hoping to train. That's exactly what he wanted. No attention, no special treatment, no whispers about his famous last name. But one person noticed him immediately. Master Rhea Dalton, a strict black belt instructor known for her harsh attitude and even harsher words. She stood with her arms crossed, analyzing every new student like they were beneath her standards. Her eyes swept over Jimuel from head to toe. "Humph," she muttered loudly. "Another rich boy who thinks he can fight." The chatter around the dojo stopped. Some students exchanged awkward glances. Jimuel simply smiled politely and bowed again. "I'm here to learn, ma'am." Rhea raised an eyebrow, unimpressed. "To learn," she repeated mockingly. "You look like you've never thrown a punch in your life." A few students chuckled nervously, not because they agreed, but because they were afraid of crossing their instructor. Jimuel didn't react. He wasn't new to judgment. He had grown up under the shadow of a world champion. Criticism was familiar territory. Still, he believed respect was the core of martial arts, so he kept his tone steady. "I'm willing to work hard, ma'am." Rhea stepped closer, her voice sharpened like a blade. "Work hard? Boys like you quit the moment things get tough. This is a dojo, not a luxury gym. If you're expecting an autograph session, you came to the wrong place." Jimuel blinked once, slow, calm, before responding. "I'm only here to train." That answer irritated her even more. She hated polite confidence. She hated humility she couldn't break. Around them, students were starting to sense something unusual. Phones lowered into pockets. Conversations died down. All eyes gradually turned toward the confrontation building at the center of the dojo. Rhea smirked darkly. "Well then," she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Let's see if you can survive 5 minutes in my class." The room tightened with nervous anticipation. What Jimuel did next left the entire dojo stunned. The class lined up in neat rows as Master Rhea marched toward the front, her posture stiff and commanding. Everyone bowed. Jimuel bowed as well, keeping his presence small, respectful, and silent. But Rhea's eyes stayed locked on him like a hawk waiting for a slip-up. "Warm-up drills," she barked. "Push-ups now." The students dropped instantly. Jimuel followed. Rhea paced slowly through the rows like a general in a battlefield. Whenever she passed another student, she barely looked at them. But when she walked past Jimuel, she stopped deliberately. "Is that all you've got?" she said loudly, pointing at him. "Your elbows are too wide. Fix it." Jimuel adjusted quietly. Rhea crouched beside him. "No, no, no. Still wrong. You're slow." Her voice grew sharp. "You move like someone who's never worked a day in his life." Jimuel exhaled through his nose, keeping his calm. Inside, students exchanged glances. Why was she singling him out? After push-ups came high knees, then planks, then jumping squats. Jimuel followed every instruction without complaint. Sweat formed on his forehead, but his breathing stayed steady. He wasn't the strongest in the room, but he was the calmest. That calmness irritated Rhea even more. "Everyone pair up for basic drills," she ordered. "Except you." She pointed at Jimuel. "You come to the front." Even seasoned students stiffened. Being called to the front wasn't normal. It wasn't training. It was targeting. Jimuel walked forward respectfully. Rhea folded her arms. Show us a basic jab. Let's see what work hard means to you. He nodded and stepped into stance. The room quietened. Jimuel threw a simple jab, clean, controlled, perfectly aligned. A few students blinked. That was good, someone whispered. Ria's eyebrow twitched. Beginner's luck, she snapped. Again. Jimuel repeated, slightly faster, still controlled, precise. A tiny wave of murmurs passed through the dojo. Ria's jaw tightened. Again. Jimuel did it a third time, sharper, stronger, flawless. Now students were openly staring. Ria suddenly shouted, "That's enough!" The room flinched. She stepped closer until she was inches from his face. "You think you're special because you can throw a clean punch? Do you want a trophy for doing the bare minimum?" Jimuel didn't move. "No, ma'am." His calmness, again, only fueled her temper. "Everyone!" Ria called out. "Watch closely. This is what happens when someone thinks fame can buy skill." Jimuel raised his hands slightly. "I've never said I was famous." Ria scoffed. "Please. I know your type. You walk in here expecting praise. Expecting special treatment." "I don't expect anything," Jimuel said softly. "Only training." A boy whispered to his friend. "Why is she being so harsh?" "He didn't do anything." Another student said quietly, "She hates newcomers, but this is too much." Ria snapped back toward the class. "Eyes forward. No talking." She turned to Jimuel again. "Let's see if you can block properly." She put on her mitts. "Hands up." Jimuel lifted his guard. Ria swung a light slap to test his guard. Jimuel blocked effortlessly. Students raised their eyebrows. Ria swung again, harder. Jimuel blocked it clean. "What?" she muttered under her breath. She threw a faster strike. Jimuel deflected it with perfect timing. The dojo fell completely silent. Somewhere in the back, a phone slowly lifted, recording discreetly. Ria's face reddened. "Don't try to show me up." Jimuel shook his head quickly. "I'm not trying to. I'm just following." "Quiet," she snapped. "You're making a fool of yourself. Give me a proper block, or leave." Jimuel straightened his stance. "With respect, ma'am. I am blocking properly." Her nostrils flared. Students exchanged glances now, fully aware she wasn't teaching anymore. She was attacking. Ria took a step back and shouted, "Everyone watch. I'll show you what a real block looks like." She charged forward with another strike. Jimuel stayed centered, breathing calmly, and blocked again, cleaner than before. The slap of glove against his forearm echoed sharply across the dojo. A girl in the second row whispered, "He's good, better than a beginner." Another whispered, "Better than most of us." Ria heard the whispers. She spun around, furious. "Who said that? You think he's better than you? Better than me?" The class lowered their eyes instantly. Ria turned back to Jimuel. "You think you're some kind of prodigy? Some kind of martial arts prince?" she mocked. Jimuel kept his voice respectful. "I don't think I'm better than anyone." Ria leaned in, her voice cold. "Then understand this. You don't belong here." The class gasped softly. Jimuel stood tall, but his expression remained calm and humble. "I'm here to learn," he repeated. Ria smirked cruelly. "Oh, you'll learn. You'll learn just how hard this dojo can break someone like you." The tension in the room thickened. Phones continued recording. And students were beginning to realize something big was building. Something they had never seen before. Ria stepped back and barked. "If you're so determined, then prepare yourself. I'm not done with you." Jimuel bowed slightly. Yes, ma'am. But the way the class watched him, the way whispers spread like quiet sparks, it was clear. Something had shifted, and nothing in the dojo would ever be the same again. The dojo felt different now, heavier, tighter, almost suffocating. No one stretched. No one chatted. Every student's eyes followed Master Rhea as she circled Jimuel like a storm preparing to break. Her voice turned sharp, cold, and dripping with authority. "Since you're so eager to learn, let me teach you something important," she said. "You are not special here." Jimuel nodded calmly. "Yes, ma'am." Rhea hated how polite he remained. She wanted him to break, crack under pressure, show weakness she could use as proof he didn't belong. Instead, Jimuel stood tall, steady as a tree in the wind. Rhea leaned closer. "You're embarrassing yourself. And me." She jabbed her finger toward his chest. "You walk in here acting humble, but it's fake. I can see right through you." Jimuel swallowed gently. "With respect, I'm only trying to do my best." The class exchanged anxious glances. This wasn't discipline. This wasn't training. This was humiliation. One student whispered, "Why is she attacking him like this?" Another whispered, "She's insecure. He's better than she expected." Rhea snapped her head toward the whispering students. "Quiet!" The room froze. She turned back to Jimuel. "Okay," she said slowly, "since you refuse to admit you're not ready, let's test how long you can last." She grabbed a pair of padded blocking sticks from the rack. Students murmured nervously. Jimuel bowed. "I'm ready to try." Rhea's eyes gleamed. "Oh, don't worry. You will try. And you will fail." She struck forward, fast, aimed straight toward his shoulder. Jimuel lifted his guard and blocked cleanly. Whack! The sound echoed loudly. Students winced, but not from Jimuel's pain. From Rhea's rising frustration. She struck again. Jimuel blocked again. Whack! Faster! Harder! Whack! 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 Jimuel blocked each one, his arms steady, his balance unshaken. Finally Rhea shouted, "Stop showing off!" Jimuel flinched, not from fear, but from surprise. "I'm not showing off, ma'am. I'm just doing what you asked." His sincerity made her jaw clench. Rhea's voice grew harsher, almost trembling. "You think you're so calm? So composed? That's because you've never faced real pressure." Jimuel's expression softened. "I'm facing it now." Gasps rippled through the class. Rhea's eyes widened, shocked that he dared respond with truth instead of fear. She stepped closer, her face inches from his. "You're arrogant. You hide it behind politeness, but I can smell arrogance." Jimuel met her eyes, not aggressively, not challengingly, but with simple honesty. "I don't believe I'm better than anyone here." A boy in the back whispered, "He really isn't arrogant. She's just angry." Rhea heard the whisper and snapped around. "You all think this is funny? You think he's some hero? He's nothing." Her voice cracked through the room like thunder. Jimuel inhaled slowly, collecting himself. His fists loosened, not from fear, but from restraint. Rhea turned on him again. "You will listen to me. You are not good enough to be here. Do you understand?" Silence. Jimuel finally spoke, voice calm but firm. "I don't believe that, ma'am. I believe everyone can learn." The dojo vibrated with tension. Rhea's face reddened. "You dare talk back to me? You think you're teaching me now?" Jimuel shook his head quickly. "No, ma'am. I would never disrespect you." Rhea stepped in even closer, so close he could feel her breath. "But you are disrespecting me," she snarled. "By pretending to be weak. By pretending to be humble. I know your type. I know boys like you, privileged, protected, pampered. You don't belong in a real dojo. Students gasped. This time, louder. A girl stepped forward a little and whispered to her friend. She has no idea who he is. Jimuel lowered his gaze for the first time, not from shame, but to control the heat rising inside his chest. He spoke quietly. I'm not here because of privilege. I'm here because I respect martial arts. Rhea scoffed loudly. Respect? You don't even know the meaning of that word. She raised the padded stick again. Jimuel lifted his guard, but this time Rhea didn't aim for his arm or shoulder. She struck directly toward his head. Students shouted in shock. Whoa! That's too much. She's lost control. But Jimuel ducked, stepped aside, and steadied himself instantly. Rhea stumbled forward from the missed strike. The entire dojo gasped at once. She looked ridiculous, off balance, sloppy, exposed. Her face twisted with humiliation. She spun around, breathing fast, furious. You dodge me! You dare dodge me! Jimuel's voice stayed level. You told me to defend myself. Rhea's chest rose and fell rapidly. She wasn't teaching anymore. She wasn't controlling the class. She was losing control in front of her own students. And everyone saw it. Students stepped back, phones recording openly now. The respect in the room had shifted, and Rhea felt it. Her voice trembled with anger and fear. That's it. If you want to stay here, if you want to prove you belong. She pointed toward the sparring mats. Then you'll spar with me. Right now. The students' hearts dropped. Is she serious? She's going to fight him? That's insane. Jimuel looked at Rhea, then at the mats, then back at her. And with slow, unshaken resolve, he bowed. Yes, ma'am. The dojo fell silent. The breaking point had arrived. And everyone knew. Nothing would be the same after this. The dojo buzzed like a shaken beehive. Students whispered, eyes wide, phones raised but trembling. The tension from Rhea's challenge filled the room like thick smoke. Jimuel stepped onto the sparring mat slowly, respectfully. He wasn't angry. He wasn't scared. He was simply ready. Rhea tightened her belt with a sharp tug. Her movements were stiff, her pride bruised. Every student could see that this wasn't about teaching anymore. This was about proving her dominance. She pointed at Jimuel. You want to stay in this dojo? Then show me something worth respecting. Jimuel bowed again. I will try my best, ma'am. Rhea scoffed loudly, turning so everyone could hear. Your best won't be enough. But as she turned away, a whisper rose from the far corner of the dojo. Bro, I think I know him. Two boys leaned over their bags nervously. What do you mean? That's Jimuel Pacquiao, the boy said, eyes widening. You know, Manny Pacquiao's son. The second boy froze. Wait, the Manny Pacquiao? The boxing legend. The first boy nodded slowly. Yeah. I've seen Jimuel's amateur fights online. He's good. Really good. The rumor spread like electricity traveling through wires. Is that really him? No way. He looks just like his dad. I swear that's him. More students pulled out their phones, comparing Jimuel's face with photos. The realization hit them like a wave. It is him. A girl covered her mouth in shock. That means he's been training for years. A boy whispered back. And Rhea has been insulting him like he's some random beginner. The whispers grew louder, merging into nervous chatter. Rhea noticed the noise. Hey, she barked. What's with all the talking? She glared at them. If I hear one more whisper, Everyone's doing extra drills for an hour." The students fell silent out of fear, but their eyes kept darting toward Jimuel. Rhea turned to him again, still unaware. "Hands up." Jimuel raised his guard. But the students couldn't hold it in any longer. A girl near the front whispered urgently to her friend. "She's about to fight a Pacquiao and she has no idea." Another whispered, "He's been blocking every strike. His footwork is too smooth to be a beginner." A boy added quietly, "She's going to embarrass herself." Jimuel heard the whispers. He recognized the tone. This wasn't admiration. It was warning. He didn't want a scene. He didn't want to hurt anyone's pride. But he also couldn't lie. Sparring was sparring. Meanwhile, Rhea mistook the whispering for disrespect toward her. She clenched her fists. "You think this is funny?" she shouted. "You think he is going to beat me? Me? A black belt with 12 years of teaching." No one responded. But their silence spoke louder than words. Rhea turned back to Jimuel. "Fine. Let's begin." She stepped into stance, wide, aggressive, fueled by ego. Jimuel stepped into stance, calm, centered, balanced. The contrast was glaring. Rhea lunged first with a sharp kick. Jimuel shifted gracefully, avoiding it by inches. The crowd gasped. Rhea swung again, harder. Jimuel stepped back effortlessly. Rhea's frustration grew. She struck again, twice, 3 times, faster each time. Jimuel blocked every strike without countering, without showing off, without landing a single hit. He was defending. She was unraveling. A student whispered, "He's not even trying to attack. He's holding back." Rhea threw a wild spinning kick. Jimuel ducked easily, sidestepping with perfect timing. Rhea stumbled, losing balance again. The dojo fell silent. Everyone could see the truth now. Jimuel wasn't the one struggling. Rhea was. Finally, Jimuel spoke, his voice soft but firm. "Ma'am, this is not the way martial arts should be practiced." Rhea stopped mid-motion, panting, cheeks burning red. "What did you say?" Jimuel lowered his guard respectfully. "Martial arts is about humility, control, respect. Without those, skills don't matter." The room froze. Several students nodded unconsciously. It was the line they had been waiting to hear, the truth no one dared speak. Rhea's eyes widened with disbelief. She looked around and saw the students slowly, quietly aligning themselves behind Jimuel. For the first time, she realized she was losing them. Her authority, her respect, her control. Every piece was slipping from her hands. Jimuel bowed again, trying to end the tension. "I do not want to embarrass you, ma'am." But it was too late. Everyone already knew. The balance of power had shifted. And Rhea? She was standing on breaking ground. If you were in this dojo, would you defend Jimuel or stay silent? Comment your answer. Which country are you watching from? Drop your city below. The dojo air felt heavier now, like the walls themselves were holding their breath. Rhea stood frozen, fists trembling, chest rising and falling in angry, uneven breaths. She had thrown everything she had at Jimuel, and he had blocked, dodged, or neutralized every strike without even breaking a sweat. The students saw it. She knew they saw it. And that only made her pride burn hotter. Jimuel bowed once again, trying to ease the tension. "Ma'am, I respect your skill. But I don't want to fight you like this." Rhea's jaw clenched. Her pride had been poked. Her authority had been challenged. Her temper broke. "Oh, shut up," she spat. The students gasped. Rhea had spoken harshly before, but never like this, not to a newcomer, and definitely not after being shown respect. She stepped closer, invading his space. "You think you're special? Is that it?" she jeered. "You think because you can dodge a few kicks, you're above me?" Jimuel didn't flinch. "No, ma'am. I think everyone deserves respect. Even beginners." Her nostrils flared. "Respect?" she repeated mockingly. "How about this?" Her finger jabbed into his chest. "People like you walk in here thinking you're better than the rest of us. Thinking you can buy your way into skill. Thinking you can impress people with your famous last name." Jimuel's eyes softened. He had been avoiding the moment, but it was here now. "Ma'am," he said gently, "I never said who I am." "I know who you are," she snapped. "You're one of those spoiled types. Probably some rich boy whose daddy pays for everything. I know your type." The entire dojo fell silent. A girl whispered, wide-eyed, "Oh no, she still doesn't know." Rhea leaned in close, her voice dripping with contempt. "Boys like you. You break the moment you meet real pressure." Jimuel inhaled slowly. A calm breath. A controlled breath. But the insult cut deeper than she realized. Not because she insulted him, but because she insulted what he stood for. His upbringing. His work. His values. His father's legacy of rising from poverty, not privilege. Jimuel finally raised his head, eyes locking with hers. "Ma'am," he said quietly, "you're crossing a line." The students stirred. They had never heard Jimuel speak firmly before. It changed the atmosphere instantly. Rhea smirked, mistaking his calmness for fear. "Oh, did I hurt your feelings?" she said in a mocking baby voice. "Maybe you should run home to your rich daddy." That was it. The dojo collectively inhaled. That insult sank like a stone in water. Rhea stepped back, expecting him to break, to crumble, to admit defeat. Instead, Jimuel straightened his shoulders. His posture shifted. His presence grew. And when he spoke next, the room felt the weight of every word. "Ma'am," he said, voice deep and unshaking, "your belt is black. But if your heart is full of pride and hate, your martial arts is empty." The silence that followed was absolute. Students froze mid-breath. Phones dropped to their sides. Even the ventilation hum seemed to hush. Rhea's face drained of color. Jimuel continued, calm but powerful. "You teach strength, but you bully the weak. You teach discipline, but you let anger control you. You teach respect, but you show none." His words rolled through the room like controlled thunder. "And if this dojo is supposed to represent martial arts, then I cannot let disrespect go unanswered." A boy in the back whispered, "Dude, that line." A girl whispered, "I felt that in my spine." Rhea finally snapped back. "You arrogant little." Jimuel raised a hand, not aggressively, but firmly. "I'm not attacking you," he said. "I'm telling you the truth." That gesture, that calm boundary, infuriated her more than any counterattack. Rhea lunged, fueled not by training but by humiliation. Students shouted, "No, ma'am, stop." She threw a punch, not a controlled strike, not a teaching technique, but a reckless, angry blow. Jimuel didn't counter. He didn't strike. He didn't retaliate. He simply moved. A pivot. A step. A gentle guiding hand on her wrist. Rhea stumbled forward, momentum carrying her across the mat. She caught herself just before falling. Her pride cracked louder than bones ever could. The dojo erupted in whispers. "He didn't even hit her." "He could've, but he didn't. He's a real martial artist." Rhea turned around, chest heaving, eyes wild. Jimuel bowed once more. "The strongest person in the room," he said quietly, "is the one who doesn't need to hurt anyone to win." That line echoed in every corner of the dojo. Students stared at him with newfound respect. Ria stared with something else. Fear. She had lost control. She had lost authority. And worst of all, she had lost dignity. And the consequences of that were coming fast. The dojo fell into a tense silence. Jimuel's calm words had sliced through the chaos, and for the first time, Master Ria Dalton's authority felt fragile. Every student could feel it. Her anger still simmered, but now it was mixed with uncertainty, even fear. Before she could respond, the door to the dojo creaked open. A tall man in a black tracksuit stepped in. Sensei Carlos, the assistant instructor, had returned from a meeting at another gym. He froze immediately, his eyes widening as he saw the scene unfolding. "Wait a second, is that?" Carlos whispered, almost to himself. Ria spun around, chest heaving, eyes blazing. "Who are you talking to?" Carlos stepped closer, ignoring her glare, his gaze fixed on Jimuel. "That's Jimuel Pacquiao, isn't it?" A murmur rippled through the students. Whispers began spreading. "Is that really him? No way. The son of Manny Pacquiao?" Ria's mouth fell open. Her face went pale. She had been so sure, so confident in her assumptions, yet now she realized she had been humiliating someone far beyond her expectations. Jimuel lowered his guard slightly, still composed. "Yes, that's me," he said softly, almost humbly. He didn't brag. He didn't demand attention. He simply acknowledged the truth. Carlos approached Jimuel and bowed slightly. "It's an honor to train with you. I've seen your matches. You have tremendous skill and discipline." The students' whispers turned into exclamations. Phones came out again, recording everything. The atmosphere shifted completely. Where before they had been tense, worried, or uncertain, now the room buzzed with awe and respect. Ria, still flushed with anger and embarrassment, tried to regain control. I don't understand," she stammered. "You're just a student here. How can this be?" Jimuel looked at her calmly. "I didn't come here to show anyone who I am," he said. "I came here to learn. But respect is earned through actions, not assumptions." Her face tightened, realizing the gravity of her behavior. She had humiliated him publicly, insulted him repeatedly, and tried to assert dominance over someone who had never disrespected her once. And now, with everyone watching, it was clear that her judgment had been entirely wrong. Carlos stepped closer to Ria. "You see, Master Dalton, martial arts isn't just about physical skill. It's about character. Jimuel has demonstrated discipline, patience, and humility, the very qualities we should all strive for." The students were nodding, whispering, even clapping quietly. Some approached Jimuel to shake his hand, to congratulate him on how he had handled the situation. He smiled politely at each of them, never flaunting his identity, never gloating. Ria, meanwhile, struggled to regain composure. Her pride had been shattered, her authority challenged. Yet in the corner of her mind, she knew this was a lesson she desperately needed. For years, she had judged by appearances, dismissed newcomers, and let her ego dictate her teaching. Jimuel's voice cut through her thoughts, calm but firm. "Assumptions can harm people. Judging someone before knowing them shows weakness, not strength. Respect must be mutual. Only then can a dojo truly thrive." The students listened in silence, absorbing every word. Even the younger ones, who had been afraid moments before, now understood the depth of the lesson. Ria finally took a step back, swallowing hard. She looked at Jimuel and the crowd of students, realizing that her behavior had not only failed to teach but had set a poor example. Slowly, she nodded, almost imperceptibly. "I understand," she admitted, her voice quieter than before. Carlos smiled. "Sometimes the greatest lessons come from the unexpected. Jimuel has reminded us all of that today." The tension in the dojo finally lifted. Jimuel bowed once more, acknowledging both the students and the instructors. There was no boast, no show of superiority. Just calm, quiet dignity. The students erupted into applause, not just for his skill, but for the way he had handled the entire ordeal with composure, patience, and grace. The respect he earned in mere minutes would outlast any physical feat performed in the dojo. Rhea, still standing at the front, finally allowed herself to exhale. She had been defeated, not by fists or kicks, but by patience, humility, and courage. And in that moment, she understood what martial arts truly meant. Jimuel's calm smile remained as he straightened his stance. Though the incident had been tense, it had ended with a powerful lesson. True strength is not about dominating others, but about standing firm in integrity, showing respect, and earning trust through action. The students knew they had witnessed something unforgettable. Jimuel had not only proven his skill but had also set an example for every person in that dojo, an example that would be remembered for years to come. The dojo was buzzing with an energy that hadn't been there before. Students whispered excitedly, replaying in their minds the events of the day, the confrontation, the challenges, and, most importantly, the lesson. Every person in the room could feel the shift. The balance of respect had changed, and Jimuel Pacquiao's calm courage had left an imprint that would last far longer than any physical demonstration of skill. Phones were recording, capturing each precise movement, each word of wisdom, and the reactions of both the students and instructors. Within hours, someone had uploaded the footage to social media. It spread like wildfire. Clips of Jimuel blocking Master Rhea's strikes, standing calmly under relentless verbal attacks, and finally delivering his words on respect and humility were being shared across platforms. Headlines appeared almost overnight. Young fighter teaches black belt a lesson in respect. Jimuel Pacquiao shows discipline, humility, and courage in viral dojo video. Martial arts isn't just skill, it's character, says Jimuel Pacquiao. Meanwhile, Master Rhea Dalton was facing a wave of backlash from instructors, parents, and students who had seen the footage. Her credibility had been shaken, and an internal review at the dojo had begun. For the first time, she was confronted with the consequences of underestimating someone, judging based on appearances, and letting ego dictate actions. Jimuel, however, remained gracious. Despite the chaos, the attention, and the potential for personal gain, he stayed humble. In the dojo, he helped students pack up, adjusted mats, and even guided some beginners on basic footwork. He didn't flaunt his fame, and he didn't need to. His actions spoke louder than any introduction ever could. Later, Jimuel posted a short message online, speaking directly to the millions who had already seen the footage. True strength is not in defeating others. True strength is in maintaining respect, humility, and integrity. Everyone deserves dignity, regardless of appearance, status, or background. No one should be judged before they are known. Martial arts teaches discipline, but it also teaches compassion and fairness. Let's remember that. The message resonated. It went viral. Thousands of comments poured in, praising his composure, courage, and leadership. Fans, students, and fellow martial artists applauded his ability to face intimidation without resorting to anger, and to turn a situation of potential humiliation into a lesson in humanity. Back at the dojo, the atmosphere had changed permanently. Students now approached training with a deeper understanding, not only of technique but also of character. Master Rhea, humbled by her mistakes, took a step toward reflection. Though pride still lingered, she realized that leadership required more than skill. It required respect, fairness, and the ability to see beyond assumptions. Jimuel didn't seek recognition. He didn't demand applause. But the world had seen what true composure looked like. He had demonstrated that even in the face of unfair treatment, calm courage and dignity could change minds, shift dynamics, and teach lessons that brute force alone could never achieve. By the end of the week, the dojo had become a symbol of transformation. Videos, articles, and social media posts highlighted not just Jimuel's skill, but the profound lesson he delivered. Strength is shown through patience, integrity, and respect, never through humiliation or pride. The students, instructors, and viewers around the world carried that lesson with them. Jimuel's actions became a benchmark for conduct in martial arts and in life, a reminder that even under pressure, even when wronged, one could remain calm, respectful, and unwavering. And in every replay of the video, in every whispered retelling, one message remained clear. True power is not in dominance, but in courage, composure, and the dignity with which it is expressed. The dojo doors finally closed for the night, but the echoes of that day, the lessons, the courage, and the respect Jimuel displayed, resonated far beyond its walls. The viral footage continued to circulate, inspiring countless others to act with humility, to rise above mistreatment, and to remember that every person deserves to be treated with dignity. And somewhere in the world, students and young martial artists watched and learned, understanding that real strength always begins with character.